Temple, has anything caught your eye at this convention so far?
Well, unfortunately did not get a chance to go through the trade show as much as I'd like to, because I've been up here talking to you guys. I mean, one of the things that we talked about is the great need to communicate with the young people. Mm-hmm. One of the big problems we have today is we've got a new generation of young people that's totally removed from the world of practical things. You know, they've taken sewing and woodworking and music and theater and lots of other things, welding and stuff, out of the schools. And I think that you lose something with that. You lose practical problem solving. But there's a hunger for it. I think that's one of the things that's got people interested in the buy local movement. People want to know where their food comes from.
Do you really see that shift? Do you think there has been that shift back towards a younger generation doing more hands-on stuff, even with the problems with video games and distractions and that?
Well, there's a certain segment of young people that are wanting to get back into food. I think this is one of the reasons why celebrity chefs have gotten so popular. But also there's a lot of young people that are kind of surprised at how, you know, some of the older people fix things. You know, instead of throwing the lamp away, you have to fix the lamp unless it's just totally broken.
Let me get your thoughts on, we were talking earlier about the problems that some of the packing plants were having and that kind of thing. Can you briefly recap that for me?
Well, I've worked all my career on improving humane slaughter. I worked on the equipment, done lots of equipment design, got the equipment really good, and then in 1999 I worked on implementing the McDonald's audits, and that resulted in huge amounts of change because now people had to operate equipment correctly. And the single most important thing on improving stunning was maintenance of the captive bolt gun. It wasn't getting something brand new, it was simply fixing and repairing the thing that you already had. That's management. Management really getting behind it. So now the slaughter plants are working really well. The USDA's gotten much more strict in the last 5 years. And the problems I'm starting to see now is something I have to fix at the farm. We're getting animals in that have difficulty walking. You know, old, emaciated, half-dead dairy cows that should have been brought in way before they got in such bad shape. I've seen leg conformation issues in pigs, which would cause lameness. Animals have gotten bigger. Now, that's not the main reason why have difficulty walking. Too many beta agonists. I'm not saying we need to get rid of beta agonists, but maybe you do half the dose. Maybe in the summer you don't feed it. There seems to be a real big problem with stiff, sore cattle in the summertime with beta agonists.
Go ahead. No.
And that's still continued. You can get pigs where nobody's walked in the pen with the pigs, and then they're crazy and difficult to handle. They're problems where they have to be fixed back at the farm. And there were some of them that have always been there, like difficult to handle pigs because nobody's walked the pens. But then worsening problems sometimes with things like some of these old dairy cows. There's certain parts of the country where 1 out of 6, 1 out of 5 old dairy cows is coming into the plant at body score 1, which is an emaciated bone rack. There's no excuse for that.
Briefly recap what you were talking about bringing in those heifer steers, especially, that there's such an issue right now with it.
Well, Holstein steers now have gotten so big that they don't fit in the trucks. They're dragging on the viscera table in the plant. They're just getting too tall. And some dairies now are switching to some of the smaller, slightly less productive Holsteins because the cow will last for 3 or 4 lactations instead of 2.5 lactations. I think in animal ag we need to start looking at what's optimal rather than what's maximum, because these real long Holstein steers are causing problems. They've caused some cross-contamination issues. Raising the rails in the plant you can't go there. That's so expensive you can't do it. Refrigeration issues. There's no need to have a steer that big. I can remember in the 70s when I first started, gigantic Charolais bulls coming in from Europe, and they were going to save the industry. Well, nobody wanted a ribeye, a huge, gigantic ribeye. The other problem is, especially in Arizona where pasture's sparse, the old county agent, Al Lane, who was a guy my age, when I saw him back in the 70s, he goes, there's not enough groceries on the desert to feed those big cows. Those big cows take more feed. In England, just last year, I was just in England, they're switching back to the Australian type of Holstein because the great big Holsteins, they cost too much to feed. Feed's expensive in Europe. Again, looking at what's optimal rather than what's maximum.
One final question. Do you think we are in a rebuilding in the national livestock herd? And if so, how long do you think it will be before we see pre-2008, 2007 levels?
Well, people are definitely rebuilding. I'm not going to make any predictions about when it's going to get back to old levels. But I have a friend who's a truck driver, and he says all he's been doing is hauling heifers north to repopulate the ranches.